one of the things you want to say, I'm gonna talk to her, is just say, look, Andy wants to do something.
Next Thursday, I'd be all right.
Yeah, for everybody too.
So annoying.
I'll give
Got an ease,
you a time.
understand it.
Next Thursday.
Give him a hard time.
Thing on?
But say, look,
Live?
but nice,
You hear me talking?
Roll up a payday.
You're gonna let me know that before you do that.
yeah, that we got a low.
Big 21.
I couldn't find the whole trust of it for the land evidence records.
Yeah,
Whenever there's a vote, there's always
Got
a
to
vote
talk.
for three members.
Got to talk.
Man, open mic.
yeah, Wednesday.
Here's the thing, when there's ever
We're not going over here with.
these, they always say it's a majority of the. But it seems like they can take action.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Want me to call?
It is 7:00. We are coming out of a recess back into open session, and I will ask that you join us in the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Meeting is called to order, and I would like, as our first item of business, to extend a welcome to the new managers of Carolyn's Seconded Vineyard, James Davids and Marissa Stashenko, who are here with us, and ask them to say a few words, if you would like, to the assembled group.
Thank you.
Thank you. We just wanted to come down and say that we're excited to be here in the community and really excited to be out at the vineyard. We're going to open for the summer at the end of the month, the last weekend, I think on the 28th. And the plan is to just be open Thursday to Sunday, 11 to 7, and try to keep it a little quiet this year and just try to rebuild and, you know, have a good spot to come and enjoy a glass of wine and a little refreshment or something. But hope to see everybody out there. Cheers.
Marissa with a last name like Mushin, I should do a little better with you. My apologies. Yeah. Very good. Any other announcements that need to be made? Approval of minutes, June 6th, which was the first of the two sets.
Motion to approve June 6th town council meeting unless anybody has any corrections, comments on it.
I'll second. Discussion, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And then June 13th,
Same motion for June 13th town council meeting.
Same second.
discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, our next item is old business. The first of those is a continued discussion of a proposal by the planning board for an attainable housing ordinance. At the time the agenda was put together, we indicated our anticipation, which indeed was satisfied, a response from the planning board based on their meeting, which was scheduled for the 17th, and comments from the Housing Trust. Both of those, from the planning board and comments from the Housing Trust, are within the package. Are there any questions or comments from respect to what we have in front of us?
Well, it certainly was a lot of discussion here by the Housing Trust on what they felt needed to be corrected. And this proposed housing amendment to the Little Compton zoning ordinance, is that this one with the yellow highlight, is that from the planning board? Or is this from the Housing Trust?
You have in the packet and on one that is not so modified,
Right.
and that's the info
Okay.
from the planning board. And then the annotated version is the one that the Housing Trust, I'll say, marked up with its comments. Is that correct?
So the planning board still has to go over the comments of the Housing Trust and, or you've done that already?
They did that last week. Oh,
Thank you.
last week, yeah.
I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page, yeah.
We had meeting last Wednesday with the Housing Trust and reviewed their comments. And the planning board had a special meeting this Monday to review those comments and amend the proposed draft ordinance, which is what I believe you have in front of you or has been delivered to you. So if you'd like, I'll kind of review and what we did. The first comment had to do with the purpose of sustainable housing draft, and we amended that. Their concern was that the public could misunderstand the populations and the difference between affordable housing and attainable housing and whatnot. So we amended the purpose to say that the purpose of this section is to promote the creation of suitable, sustainable housing units in the residential zone by allowing additional residential density in a manner that balances the need for such housing with concerns for the environment, carrying capacity of the land, and the health, safety, and welfare of current and future residents to be defined as attainable housing. While many local workers such as teachers, trade workers, service workers, and farmers may qualify for affordable housing, we recognize there may be some who may not. The attainable category expands beyond the current income qualifications for state and federal affordable housing programs to reach members of our community who do not qualify for affordable, but who still are unable to access local housing. So the purpose of this is to create a category above the 120% median income, 140%, so that families with household incomes that exceed the state requirement have an opportunity to take advantage of housing and a new density format. So that was the first question. I believe we answered that one. The second one had to do with the description of affordability and the amount the state requires 30%. The affordable housing allowance is 35%. The definition of that, what does it mean? So we amended that to say affordability. For the sole purpose of determining attainable housing, 35% of the purchaser's gross median income is used only to calculate the maximum price for a house, including real property, taxes, and insurance. So that was how we addressed that. The next question had to do with standards for attainable housing, a special use permit. The second item, the standard was the proposed development must conform to the characteristics of the surrounding area to the greatest extent possible. Recognize that is not a specific criteria, but we after great discussion, I think that was important to that as a condition. And I believe the solicitor supported that. The last item of recommendation had to do with water, and we had extensive conversation about water. The draft had called for 2 gallons per minute for a 4-hour runtime. We discussed it, and there was a feeling adequate water, which the recommendation from the Housing Trust that we change that to be adequate water instead of having a specific requirement. After a great discussion, we actually started to go toward just so, well, it's easier to be adequate. Then we tried to define, well, what is adequate? And if the ordinance approves a subdivision and a housing lot that has adequate water, but no measurement, quantifiable measurement, then the town would be, well, we've doubled or more density, and we have no requirement for water, we run into a problem. At least if we have a minimum requirement of 2 gallons per minute for 4 hours, then there is some criteria that is measurable for the approval of the subdivision when and if this should happen. So those were the questions and recommendations, questions from the Housing Trust, and those were our amendments to address those.
And the Housing Trust had the opportunity to attend that meeting?
On Monday.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And now I would ask that the Housing Trust speak to, as the provider of those comments, speak to the degree to which they are satisfied or they would like us to think of some other, is that appropriate?
Oh, absolutely.
So I just have one question. Mike, you, for the sole purpose of determining attainable housing, you have 35%. And I think the Housing Trust said they only wanted 30%. Was that discussed?
Yes.
Okay.
And so there's 2 points here, I believe. One is the reference of 30% or 35% has sort of been viewed as what the homeowner can spend toward housing. The approach for attainable housing was, since the income is higher, the house is more expensive, it's appropriate that the new homeowner be able to spend more than the 30%. In subsequent investigation of that, the way the state treats this, it's not a strict 30 and 35 as to what the purchaser can spend. It has to do with determination of the actual price of the house that can be built and mortgaged.
I just don't want the affordable people to be left out of this because the income is 35% and they can only afford 30%. But if it's by talking about the house you're going to buy.
So I'll admit that I don't understand this area specifically, but I know that there's been a lot of discussion with the state on this. And in fact, talking to people that manage the agents that manage the accounts. And as it turns out, the mortgages of the purchasers average in the 40 to 42%. So they actually spend more. So this is a determination of what the actual housing price will cost.
I guess Pat will.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. And now the Housing Trust.
Thank you, Bob. My name is Patrick Bone, the Chair of the Housing Trust. And in fact, we did have a meeting on Wednesday subsequent to the last council meeting at which we discussed this proposed amendment. Should say unequivocally that the Housing Trust is in favor of this amendment. Mike was correct in identifying several of those issues which we identified and discussed. The purpose, as worded, we felt was didn't hold low and moderate income housing in a favorable light. And we perhaps that could be changed, and we're grateful for that change. The second issue that Mike described regarding water. Presently, the state requires there only to be adequate water supply for any housing here in town. And we felt that by requiring a certain standard, that being 2 gallons a minute, that it was perhaps putting an undue burden on what would be already low to moderate attainable people. And so we felt that it was something we could maybe just stick with the state standard, that being adequate. The other issue that was just discussed regarding 30% of household income. So the state and federal definition of cost burdened is when a person's family spends more than 30% of their household income on housing. The Housing Trust felt that it would be irresponsible to suggest anything more than 30%. Certainly in the context of a town amendment. And so, you know, the position of the Housing Trust was to stick with the 30%, which is a standard definition at the state level, at the federal level. The planning board obviously is at liberty to to make whatever reservations or advice they want, but we felt that was the best. And then there's another issue that I wanted to bring up, which would be within the deed restrictions that would go along with this amendment. And one of the most important ones we felt was the idea that at present, should one of these attainable homes go into foreclosure, there is the possibility that it could in fact become a market rate home. Now, if you think about allowing people to spend more than what's considered cost burden on a home, and the possibility that at some point in time it might be foreclosed, it is a possibility. And when we think about that same attainable home for which provisions have been made and zoning changes made, sometime in the future becoming a market rate home, we felt that that would be unacceptable to the housing trust. And so we would propose within the deed restriction that there be a right of first refusal on the part of the town. And it would seem to be fairly simple to word it within the deed restriction that in the event of foreclosure, the town, perhaps through the housing trust, would be given a right of first refusal to purchase that property for whatever's owed on it. So again, I'd just like to emphasize that the Housing Trust is very much in favor of this amendment. We're very appreciative to Planning Board for all the work that they've done to bring it forward. And those items that discussed, happy to discuss as we move forward through a public hearing. And I look forward to that process.
Thank you.
Any questions at all?
No, I think you're right. Again, with the planning board's done a great job with this, Mike, and I've been to all or most of your meetings. So there's three things you guys outlined is the water, whether it's adequate at 2 gallons a minute. I think it matters either way. I mean, it's the burden of the applicant to get reliable water or adequate water. So I think that's fine. I think the other one is the monitor. The monitor is the big deal here. Foreclosure, like you said. I guess it can go in the deed restrictions on if the Compton Housing Authority wants first refusal. I would ask the solicitor on that. And I think the other thing that was talked about was the lottery, who gets the houses. How the monitoring agent's going to handle that or who's going to handle that. I think we've been trying to mirror Block Island. My understanding, Block Island doesn't have a monitor. They have criteria for their lottery. So I think the people that are here are listening to it. If we boiled it down to the water and the monitor, and if there's a foreclosure. So everyone seems to be working well together. Commons Foundation with this Sustainable Housing, the Planning Board, the Housing Trust. And so I'm happy to see that happening because we all know what's happening to the town. And it's going to continue unless we do something. And we all need to work together to accomplish it. I'd like to see that. So the deed restrictions is a sticky point. The monitor is a sticky point. You're going to have to get us through that if you want us to keep going. That's how I see it anyway.
Thank you.
So I have a comment, and I said the same comment last time. I'm still worried about affordable versus attainable. Okay, I don't want the people that grew up in this town might not be at the attainable housing level, get bypassed to attainable housing, okay? I want to see our Little Compton children stay in Little Compton. So one thing that I would like to see before the public hearing is the criteria that's going to be used. See who's going to get these houses. Who's going to be able to apply for these houses. So I think that's an important thing for me. I mean, if it's going to be okay, if you make $500,000 a year, then you're going to qualify for one of these. But a guy that only makes 100, it's not going to qualify because he's not going to have enough money. Now that's pretty skewed, okay? But until I see some criteria that this is going to benefit the people of Little Compton, I'm going to be kind of leery of going ahead with this. So if that's possible to come up with criteria, obviously, before this gets off the ground or after it gets approved, I don't want, the town council approves this and say, okay, this is great. And then the planning board comes back, okay, we've already approved this. Now we're going to make up the criteria that we feel is fit. That would still have to come to the council to be approved. Assume. But I would like to see it come to public hearing so everybody can have some input on that and say, well, I think that's too stringent, or maybe that's too loose. I don't know, but I think that's an important part of this whole attainable housing amendment. My thought.
Well, I think that I agree with you completely. That's very important. The selection process, we have not spent any time on for the moment. One of the reasons for attainable housing is that it's a Little Compton program. It's a Little Compton ordinance. So we're able to describe and determine the criteria, whether it's a lottery like Block Island has, or there's a point system or whatever. We have not spent any time on that, and I'm honestly not sure that the planning board was, we need more shared input as to who do you want the priorities to be? Our basic priority was young families from Little Compton that live or work here. We haven't gone beyond that. The difference is significant with the state programs. They control the selection process, and they have their set of rules for low income and moderate income. Because this is not a state program, we have the opportunity to establish our own rules. So
I couldn't agree.
council would like that happen. That we're wide open for that.
Couldn't agree more that this should be for Little Compton families to stay in Little Compton.
I'd make one more comment about water. Just the way it is right now, it's part of the approval process. So in the final stage of a subdivision approval, the lots have to demonstrate that they have adequate or 2 gallons of water. We felt we needed some criteria that was specific in order to approve the subdivision of lots. So it's before you get to the new homeowner. It's the creation of the lots. We want to make sure that they're viable before we have a final approval.
Mike, if I may, couple of questions. Maybe you've addressed it somewhere in this, but I don't see it. What about the equity they get in the home? Because a lot of people use it to house repairs, to buy a new car or something like that. Can they use the equity that they build up in the home? And the other question I have is, what if they go underwater? What happens then? Can they go underwater? Is there any mechanism to stop that from happening? In other words, borrowing more money than the house is worth.
I can't answer that question.
I can see the bank saying, well, your house is worth $1 million. Well, because it's unaffordable, it's selling at 5. And the bank goes, well, we can get $1 million for it.
Yeah, but in essence, the deed restrictions are going to limit any owner of that property to the same criteria of 140% of the area median income. So if the homeowner who met that criteria is no longer able to pay their bills, and to Patrick's point, then foreclosures out there, then that mechanism takes hold. But I believe that the deed restrictions detail out those scenarios and what the outcome will be. The planning board hasn't role played those sorts of situations. At this point, we're trying to get to.
I know a lot of working class people, the farmers, the electricians, the plumbers, the carpenters that are working for this, and they're going to apply for this. They're going to need the equity in their home as they build up credit to use for future repairs and stuff like that, because most of them don't have the money to turn around and go to a bank and say, I need to borrow 10 grand to put half a roof on or something. So there's got to be a protection that they can use the equity, but there's also got to be.
They're going to own the house just as anyone would own their property. So that they will, whatever the relationship of mortgage to principal, principal and interest, that will be the same that anyone would have.
There's no restriction in the deed restriction for junior, so-called junior financing. So that means equity lines could be taken out. The one thing to bear in mind, however, is that whenever any type of financing is taken out on these properties, the title report is going to have on it that there are income and other restrictions on this property that are going to last for, 99 years. So on the one hand, there's no restriction for junior financing, but on the other hand, the restrictions on the property may limit the amount of money that can be lent to the property.
I'm good, sir.
Like, I think you also, if in one of your meetings, you had talked about improvements to the house. I think you mentioned a gold toilet, in one of them. Do you recall that? Did you guys ever get that? So can you explain that?
So the gold toilet doesn't add to the equity in the house. The person, homeowner buys the house, they can make improvements. And over their life of the house will appreciate. And when they go to resell it, the economy, cost of living increases, market increases will move the price up to the extent that it has to meet the 140% of AMI for the new buyer, wherever that is at that time. So it is, the house is maintained as an attainable house in the future for future owners. But the homeowner has the ability to enjoy the appreciation from beginning to the time of resale.
Thank you.
Do you know if the water study of the Conservation Commission is mature enough to pass judgment on the selection of 2 gallons per minute townwide? In other words, it seems to me in a town like ours where 2 gallons per minute is a victory in one part of town, it's a limitation in another. Are we able to, at this point, to know whether that's the right number, or does it seem that it is and we're going with that for now?
No, as a matter of fact, Ed Bowen graphed the data from the Conservation Commission, and which goes from 0 gallons per minute up to, a jealous or 20 gallons per minute on the other end of the bell curve. The most majority of in the middle is 2.5, something like that. As we all know, it's kind of a crapshoot wherever you go to drill a well as to what you're going to find. Back to our concern was that we're required to approve a lot for development. And we want to make sure, just as with septic, that the DEM approves the ability to have a septic for a 2 or a 3 bedroom house. And you have at least 2 gallons a minute. You can always have storage if you have a greater demand, but we wanted some criteria. That's where we ended up.
What is this soliciting?
We're there. Yes.
Just to get to what Mike was talking about, I live on a very small lot. We were struggling with 2.5, 3 gallons a minute, we had a storage tank, etc. We moved our well 12 feet. Just 12 feet on the same lot. We have 21 gallons a minute. So what Mike was saying, it is a crapshoot, and I think I was one of the people on the planning board that started talking about water in the beginning because I suffered and struggled so many years with trying to make the well work. And finally we drilled another well, and luckily we can pay dirt, or pay water. And what I would say now is, if we put a limitation on it, I think we'd be struggling to figure out what limitation that would be.
Yeah, I was.
Then the word adequate.
I was simply interested in whether two represented something in the achievable range, and it sounds like that's exactly
Well,
what.
that's the answer to that. You know,
Great.
within 12 feet.
How are your neighbors doing, or should I?
Sal, I know where you,
Selling them water.
I'm still problem, like.
Sal, I know where you live. So how much was that of that 21 gallons was salt water?
It's all good, huh?
What's the solicitor think about going to public hearing on this?
I think it's ready to go.
I'm happy to make the motion for a public hearing on attainable housing.
Thank you for taking that right out of my mouth.
You can second it for me.
The motion is made and seconded that the matter of this amendment be moved to public hearing.
So that'll probably be the second meeting in July, Carol.
July 25th.
So public hearing on
Fifth.
July 25th.
Got a question.
Is there discussion?
Yeah, I've got a question.
Go
for
ahead.
the Solicitor. Could someone use this provision to use the reduction in minimum lot area to build deed restricted affordable housing as defined by the state? Just by the definitions, I mean, I'm not seeing, there's no lower limit on the adjusted gross income. So I'm just thinking if someone does want to build affordable housing that's limited to 120%, would this stop someone from using this?
No,
Okay, so it could be used for affordable housing.
it could, yes,
Okay.
it could.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say yes, in fact, would. This would rather act as an umbrella. So what is considered low to moderate income housing would be 80 to 120% of average or yearly median income. And that would count towards the state's 10% requirement. Anything beyond 120% would not count towards the state's requirement. And also the 30% rule would in fact take preference in the event of low to moderate income.
Any further discussion? All in favor of this matter moving to public hearing on July 20th? Yep. Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? Thank you very much for the work that was done on this and by the team that did it. It's a very good first step. And I appreciate it. The next item of business is senior services. And specifically, what I'd like to point out is there's a lot of good news in this process. I wonder if we might, for sake of the discussion, start at the bottom with an update on the senior needs assessment. As you're aware, we have chartered such an assessment and then lost our leader, our consultant, and now have a consultant who has completed a first cut and will, the administrator gave me a talking note here, but I don't have it in front of me. If you could complete my sentence for me as to when that is expected to go.
Tomorrow, it's being wrapped up, completed tomorrow. Okay, and going forward, she will be sending that out to the local stakeholders, as of Monday.
So
Go ahead.
local stakeholders or wellness.
The community center, the wellness center, all of the folks who provide service.
How much time is she giving them to reply?
Well, I would say she didn't specifically state that, but I would say at least a week, to get the reply back from those folks. Knowing her, she's cranking this up in, I would say, about a week's time.
So then it's gonna come back, she's gonna decipher that and then send something else out again to
The senior, then it'll be out.
Seniors.
It'll be at large, yes.
probably got another couple of months before we get a final package.
I would say in all fairness, yes.
Yeah.
You know how she plans to get input from the community at large? Like what are the avenues that they're gonna use the outreach to people?
One is to identify 60, I believe it's 65 and over by coming into the town hall and pulling people with the register list and work through that. That's one, a mailing. The other will be through electronically, make that available.
Okay, so there will be a mailing that goes out to people.
Be a mailing going out. Just
Okay. Great.
Make sure they're getting that on hand.
Well, there's a meeting group, correct?
There's a work group, yes.
When's the last time they met?
The last thing that
Wasn't yesterday. Yeah. Is there a meeting scheduled for that?
Not at this point, not for that. She's just taking charge, but
Okay. So when will,
I would say that the meeting would happen after we get a response from the stakeholders. So I would say in another week, about another 2 weeks, the max,
there'll be a meeting of that group?
Yes. I know you requested.
You're on track to be my replacement on that group.
Okay, so let me say first of all, the seniors been coming to us for 2 years for their own place. I know the community center is open to them. And it doesn't seem for some reason like they're going there. Last November, they came back to us again, said they needed a senior center. My feeling is the senior center is at the community center. So after they told us they needed what I'm going to call now a gathering place, I have to speak with them lately. When we hired somebody, it took from November to January to hire somebody, put out a needs assessment, which my feeling was sidetracked. But I went along with it. And then in May, when this gentleman, not his fault, got sick, then we had to hire another person. So here we are, 8 months later, the seniors haven't got anything yet. So I took it upon myself in May to start looking for a place. And I said, why not the upstairs of the Grange? So there was some contracts between the Grange and the Odd Fellows that I had to research. Carol gave me the information. So I spoke with the Odd Fellows, who is Bob Booth, Russell Wardell, and Walter Elwell. They said they don't use that hall anymore. So I said, would they be willing to allow seniors to use that as a gathering place? Not a senior center, a gathering place. They said they would. They would concur that that would be good. I spoke to Dougie Waite, who is the Grand Master of the Odd Fellows. I spoke with him to get his input. He said if it was for the seniors, he wouldn't have a problem with it. They only meet there on the third Wednesday of the month. I invited Bob Mushin to come down and meet with me and Dougie Waite last night to see what their thought was in person. And they generally leave all their equipment out, and they said that they would put it away because they have storage area. About a week ago, I asked Bob to ask the maintenance guys if they could fix the stairs down there. They put some new planks on. And there was still some problems. I went down there for 2 hours today. I went through 2 boxes of screws, trying to fix the rest of them. It still needs more repairs. I've hooked up with Sal Marinowski. I'm gonna go get some 2x4s tomorrow for sister planks to screw the planks down into. So the stairs will be adequate for the seniors to get up into. I also talked to the fire marshal about this, get his opinion. He said that he would meet, first of all, he said, well, you can't get into that building because of the stairs. I said, well, they've already started to be repaired. So, and I said, I'm gonna make it so that they're safe. But I'm gonna meet with him Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. I'm not sure when he's available. And we're gonna go through the whole thing because I was concerned about if somebody gets sick upstairs, how are they gonna come down out of that building? The back stairs are pretty good. I looked at them with Bob yesterday. The door opens out. I talked to Bill Moore, the previous building official. He said he thought that that would be a good meeting place for them, but it needs some work. I've been talking with Tony, our town administrator, about an RFP to get new stairs put in and to paint the building and to do some cleanup on it. And he's working on that right now, but to get the seniors in there, I'm willing to put my time in to have them have a meeting place. Now, this doesn't take away anything from the community center. The meals are still going to be served at the community center. All the other functions that the seniors want to do at the community center, the Christmas party and everything will be held at the community center. This is only a gathering place or a meeting place for the seniors to go in and have coffee and donuts in the morning or sandwiches in the afternoon, a place that they can go into, that they can call their own, that when they go in there, they can maybe be putting a puzzle together and they come in tomorrow and the puzzle is still there. It's not pushed out of the way by some kids. So I'm sure there's going to be comments, but I would like the support of the council to keep going forward with this. Try to get the seniors their own place, their own meeting place. So.
Thank you.
How do the seniors feel about that?
Are you asking the seniors who are present here?
I have to say, first and foremost, I've only heard every other word anybody up there has said, and my hearing aids are cranked. So you're talking to each other, but you're not talking to each other.
I will say, Carol, that's not the first time we've heard that. That's what, I said, that's not the first time we heard that.
Well, I know
It's one of my pet peeves, but.
You mentioned that earlier, I would have turned the volume up louder. Not that I'm finding fault, but if anyone ever has a sound problem where you can't hear well enough, tell me right away so I can turn it up.
I
Okay?
didn't know that was a possibility. Now I do.
Speak so they can hear you.
I'm gonna listen.
Can you turn it up?
It's up at 100% right now, dear.
Did you hear what Gary said? What do you feel about that part that he said that you heard?
Not sure how I feel about it. I'm wondering, this is just me, I'm wondering why we have to use, we have to couch this in a certain language. It's a gathering place instead of a senior center. I don't understand that language. I read something, I don't think Gary said it today, where we can use it between 8 and 4. There seems to be, some requirements that I don't understand. And, you know, the senior center at the community center was never our idea. It was like, oh, this is where your senior center is going to be. So somebody posted a sign on the outside of the building and okay, there you go. And then we decided that we were going to be over at the Oddfellows Hall. So we posted a sign that said senior center outside the Oddfellows Hall. That's not all that it takes. I don't understand why it's so difficult.
Perhaps we should look at the third facet of this discussion, which is the community center itself, which is a place that has a robust program. Some would say too robust, but nonetheless, an opportunity for seniors and others to gather in the same space at different times. Clearly, COVID made that difficult in many ways, but we're not in that time frame now, and there doesn't need to be that kind of approach to it. The community center right now provides meals that are seen by the average person who eats one as being far better than they were only a few years ago.
That may be, I don't take advantage of that, so I can't.
Right, understand.
But what I don't understand is when, and I'm hoping that the needs assessment will show this, just how many seniors are there in this community? And how many like I said, I don't take advantage of it, but if I were to call now, I could not get a spot. Because, and so many other seniors in this town could not get a spot. They can only hold so many. At the beginning of the month, everybody that signed up the previous month signs up for the next month. There's no room for anybody else.
That means for the meals, you mean?
Saying that you're taking care of the seniors, but it's a very small percentage.
And some people are not Little Compton residents.
No, they're not.
They take advantage of that. I don't know how you would police that as such.
My guess is that the Tiverton Senior Center and the Westport Senior Center probably have Little Compton residents also. That would be my guess.
I think if you're getting federal money, it's not gonna be doing so much.
Right.
Right.
You can go any senior center, you just have to have a reservation.
You know,
Excuse me, just one sec. I've got another. Go ahead.
Bill Terrio, I'm the treasurer at the community center. I'd just like to respond to the question.
Yeah.
Out of town folks, because we had a board meeting the other night, and this was a topic of discussion. On a regular basis, I think there are 4 people that are out of towners that attend the senior meal site. 2 of them are active volunteers in our special needs Circle of Friends program. We're not going to reject volunteers just because they happen to live out of town. One of the other frequent participants is the local postmaster. So.
And the veteran.
Yeah, there's no, to suggest that out of towners are taking up too much space to the exclusion of local residents, I think overstates the case.
And
Yeah.
I would like to echo Carolyn's concerns too, is I don't understand why we're making decisions before a needs assessment is done. The needs assessment was agreed upon to figure out what the need is.
Right.
And we don't know, we're still guessing, whether it's the community center, the wellness center, the Odd Fellows, we don't know. And I agree with you, is that we're trying to force an answer. And it's a silly thing to do, knowing that we have a needs assessment underway.
It's fair to assert that we should have that response. You are correct. As you well know, we're investing $250,000 in upgrades to the community center. So one of our primary concerns is to not cause the community center to somehow become an also ran. And so we are going ahead with what we believe to be the need. And I believe are listening to what you're saying with respect to what else is needed. Specifically, if it's not convenient at a particular point in time, which is not the time meals are served, is there another place they could gather? Hence this idea of a gathering place. But I will acknowledge that if we get a feedback that says we ought to be going in a different direction, I'm not suggesting, nope, our mind's made up. Here's the way we're going. We're going to do it this way. I fully appreciate in a perfect world, we'd have that needs assessment in hand and we'd be operating in accordance with what it told us.
Terry, I commend you on your efforts. It reminds me of the saying, no good deed goes unpunished. And I think public servants are, all feel that way. We've all done things that, we want to help out and we could punish, but I do think, I mentioned this back in November about Odd Fellows Hall. Get the building inspector in there, get the fire chief in there, make it ADA compliant, see if that's what we can do. So
But nobody did anything, Patrick.
yeah, so I commend you on your efforts on that. And, we got to make sure that it's safe for these people, for these folks, right? And, the fire chief's in there, the building inspector's in there. And hopefully they want to go there and gather. I don't know. You have to.
Well, I mean, if the seniors, from what Carolyn says, if they don't want this place, that's fine with me. We'll wait till the needs assessment comes back. Because this is a lot of work on my part. I put a lot of time into it. Try to give the seniors what I thought they wanted. If it's. But
Yes, please.
I don't know why it's such a problem. Because we want to have a place to meet, maybe play cards, just socialize. The community center has said they have 2 chairs downstairs that you can sit and watch a TV or talk to your friends. But we're not taking anything away from the community center.
no,
If we want to order a meal and take it to the Fellows Hall, what's wrong with that? People take it home and eat too. I know that they're restricted right now because of the size of the kitchen. And I understand that this is they're going to enlarge it so they can take care of more people. There's a demand for it. So why not let people, if you can't have that many in the room, order it and take it home or take it to the senior upstairs in the Fellows Hall. They have an elevator for those that can't climb the stairs. So I don't think it's one against the other. Actually, I think it enhances it. Because that way more people can get the meal once they get a bigger kitchen. And we just want to take it home and we want to meet with our friends and have lunch together. Why not?
Thank you.
That's it.
Sorry.
I agree with Gary, and the reason I agree with him is, I think this is a good beginning. I think a place for them to meet, even if it's not the permanent place that it could be, even if it's not the way it should be initially, I think it's a good beginning. It'll show us the cohesiveness of the seniors going there. It'll give them a place to go to. And I think it shows an effort on the part of the town. I think that this has been going around for a while. I mean, I know I've been involved with it a couple of years. Angela, she's been to my house, we've talked about it. I've talked to a lot of people about it. And I think one of the problems is we keep thinking, and I'm in that business, we keep thinking of the perfect building. Well, it doesn't exist right now. So I think we have to take what we've got, try to do what we've got over there in the time being, and develop a needs, see what the needs study does, and then look to the needs study and see what we have to do to fill that gap. We may end up with both buildings. We don't know. The needs study will tell us that. But it's really not going to break our back to get over and do a little work on the Fellows Hall, get it going, have a place for the seniors to go over there, outfit it a little bit, make it look a little homey, and do the best we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
I just wanted to say that we had in November, if you remember correctly, Andrea Lemos came from Westport to speak to all of you regarding what her job is in Westport as an outreach coordinator. A very important job. She looks in at all the seniors on a regular basis. She understands her clientele. She understands what seniors need. She understands the programming. She's also involved in the programming and getting people together and doing things in the center there. I would like to propose eventually. Now, I've been trying really hard for the past several years, and I've been working at this on my own as a volunteer. I'm just proposing that maybe you are interested in assisting or assigning somebody the job as advocate in this town to take care of our seniors. They need a knock on the door. They need to know that somebody knows them and knows what they need and tells them what's available. And there's programming and there's this and there's that. And she also, if you remember, Andrea sets up rides for them to come and watch the program and make sure that nobody gets forgotten in the town on a regular basis. So that is a very important thing, which I actually have been trying to fill for many, many years here at this point. It's been more than 2 years. It's been just after COVID and actually during COVID. Officer Pressman and I were looking for donations in the town to feed them and get them together to socialize. So I have been very committed since that time to get these people together. However, it's a responsibility that seems to be going in different directions now and becoming more and more difficult for me to keep up with because of the intensity of what's happening. So I'm hoping that you would think about that and consider somebody like Andrea that knows senior everything and has some sort of grasp on our town. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a suspicion that once we get this survey done and this needs assessment done, I think it's gonna show us that we need a full-time person in town to serve as that coordinator or senior services liaison or person. Because right now there's no central person to go to that's overseeing all the senior services in town. And oftentimes it gets relegated to other people as kind of a secondary position, at least within the town government. So I think that, we need to get this survey done, this needs assessment done, and I have a feeling that that's gonna be at the top of the list when we get that back.
I agree with you. I think we do need this, and I really agree with you. But at this time, I would like to suggest that we go ahead with what has already been planned out for us. We have to start little, and we may as well start there at the Fellas Hall. And look to the future, if there's more future to it. See how that works out. And see if it needs to grow into something by itself. So I suggest we go ahead with what's already planning. And just accept what's got, what we need more of. Okay, at that time, we will be talking again and say, oh, but we need a little more for that. So I would ask you to go ahead, in my opinion, to go ahead with what is already started and look to the future.
I believe that it'll show other needs. And I think that it'll support whatever we want to do in the future. Yeah. It's a good beginning.
Gary, are you suggesting an RFP for Oddfellows Hall?
I'm just trying to get them in there after I meet with the fire. After I meet with the fire marshal, see what he says. I'd like to try to get him in there. I mean, this is in no way, shape or form to be detrimental to the community center, okay? Not whatsoever. This is supposed to be hand in hand with the community center. This is just a place for them to get together so they can call it their own. Like I said, they can go in there, play cards, do puzzles, and when they come back the next day, it's the same thing. Nothing has changed.
I get it.
Okay.
I get it. But my concern is that we need to make it ADA compliant. We need to make sure the fire chief.
Talk to that man right there.
We need to.
Talk to that man right there. I've talked to him for the last month for an RFP.
We have a result.
I talked to Bill Moore today because I was understood that he had an RFP. And he's supposed to see if he has one. He thought he did one, so that's what we got to do. And the fire marshal said he's willing to look at everything and bring it up to where it should be. But he said it's really gonna have to be ADA compliant and all the other things. There is an elevator in there and I used it and it works. Walter Elwell used it last night and it works. So that's a plus. But he said that's gonna have to be certified. There's still some hoops I have to jump through to make that suitable for the seniors.
All right, so there's no vote. You don't need a motion tonight for anything.
Just to go ahead, to keep moving ahead, that's all.
Right.
Just to keep moving ahead and see where this leads. You know, like I said, I'm willing to work with Sal down there. I'm gonna meet with the fire marshal. If he says we need this and we need this, the whole thing is, I don't anticipate this costing but 2 or 3, maybe $4,000 to make it compliant for them to get in there within, maybe by the middle of July, depending on what the fire marshal says. See, I'm trying to close all these loopholes so that there's no liability down there for the town, okay?
I'll make the motion for, do you need any help? Do you need another counselor to work with you?
I'm just gonna meet with the fire marshal Monday, Tuesday.
I'll make the motion that Gary, meets with the fire marshal and the town administrator and investigating Oddfellows Hall for safety, for a meeting place for our seniors.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Second.
The motion's made and seconded that Councillor Mataronis lead the effort to work, as you have heard, with the fire marshal and other necessary individuals to bring to fruition the Oddfellows Hall opportunity for a gathering place. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for a wide variety of comments. Our next item of business is a review and approval of collective bargaining agreements. I do not have all of those collective bargaining agreements from the unions yet. I need to schedule a meeting next week in order for us to review these. The payday that's coming up will be based upon FY 24 salaries. Therefore, this is not yet needed, but it will be needed for the next round. What is your pleasure with respect to when to meet?
Throw it out there.
I had initially intended Tuesday, the 25th. I understand that's not good for some of the council. So I would suggest Wednesday, the 26th.
I'm free all day.
You're free all day. That's comforting to know. I might have to take advantage of that.
All right.
All right.
You're not gonna be golfing?
Wednesday?
Yeah, Wednesday's fine.
I can do the mornings.
Wednesday? Oh, you need to do the elevator?
Morning is good.
We're all going that way.
Morning is good.
Breakfast?
Morning is
Afternoon,
good for all of you.
afternoon's good for me. Morning's tough for me. 'Cause I do work still.
Afternoon it is.
Wow.
2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, doesn't matter.
Not the morning, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm out.
What time? No time.
No, not in the afternoon.
3 a.m. Yeah, okay.
What about Monday? Or Thursday?
I don't have an input from one of the unions.
Okay,
It is possible, but I would rather schedule it, either Tuesday or Wednesday. Wednesday afternoon. What time?
2 o'clock, that's fine.
2 p.m. on Wednesday afternoon. Is that?
Oh, you can only meet mornings.
On Wednesday, I can't do the afternoon.
What was the other day? You can't do Thursday? You
No, I can do Thursday.
can do Thursday? That's what's gonna come up here.
I can do Thursday afternoon.
Okay, what's gonna come up here in a minute is that we've got duplicate applications for zoning and everything, so I was hoping to combine it with this meeting, so we don't have to meet once.
2 interviews
To
and
interview,
Like it.
sign contracts.
right,
I like it.
Sounds good.
all right?
We're on the 27th now.
So
Yeah, once.
Thursday, the 27th, at what time?
2 o'clock be fine.
2.
Works for me.
And we'll decide whether that starts with interviews or ends with interviews. We'll figure out.
That's all up to you. I don't care. I'll be here at 2.
Thursday, the 27th at 2 p.m. is the motion for scheduling of the next council meeting. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. The next item is new business, the aforementioned appointment to various boards and commissions. The Little Compton Agricultural Conservancy Trust has one. Let me do the names. Yes, please.
Skip Paul, Mark Reichin, and Steven Souza
Thank you.
For one position.
for one.
Right, for one position.
That interview would go on to the 27th.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You need a motion?
no, let's just,
I'll move, well, we're gonna move it
let's
as a
just get
group.
all these.
Okay.
You wanna
Yeah,
move it as a group.
All right, and Souza. Three members of the pension committee, all three of the incumbents have sought reappointment, and I believe Carol, no other person.
No further.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion is made and seconded to approve the three incumbents. That would be Steve, Roger Lord, and Rob Mara. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next is the Harbor Master and Commissioner of Recs. We have a single candidate, the incumbent.
Mike- Motion to approve Mike Master as the harbor master ensuing year.
Motion made and seconded to reappoint Mike Massa. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And for Assistant Harbor Master, a single candidate, Chris Brady.
Chris Brady.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to appoint Chris Brady. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And then a vote to acknowledge and confirm the move of the first alternate, that would be Michael Focarelli, into the full seat for the zoning board of review due to the resignation of Fred Burendorf.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
And then, of course, that creates one, and there was another zoning board of review alternate members. And for that,
We have one incumbent, Nadine Flowers, who's seeking to stay on as an alternate. And then I have one application from Nicole
Sedanians.
Sedanis.
Sedanians.
Sedanis.
yeah,
Okay, sorry, I apologize. I can never say that name right. She has applied. Currently, she is not a registered voter, which is part of your town code. But that doesn't mean that she can't register to vote. She's been living here. She just,
is not registered as a,
at the moment.
okay.
So should we?
Those are the two members.
Those are the only two that have applied for those. I would suggest if you're gonna do anything, you might consider holding the Nicole, who is not a registered voter, for until your next meeting. And then find out whether she's interested in registering to vote. If not, then
Well, there's two positions open, right, Carol?
yes, no, there's two.
Oh, there's
No,
now,
yeah.
Michael Folk,
Now, because Michael moved up and there's three alternates normally.
right, sorry.
So why don't we, I'll move that Nadine Flowers gets reappointed
I'll second that.
and,
May I deal with that motion, or did you? or-
yeah,
Do it.
The motion is made and seconded to reappoint Nadine Flowers as an alternate. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
and
Do a contingent upon.
Or hold appointment until the next meeting.
hold
That's
a,
fine. Either works.
I'll, move Nicole Sandian abs. Contingent upon her becoming a registered voter.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to appoint Nicole with the contingency that she become a registered voter in order to satisfy the requirements for service. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right, so that then results in our having the trust position only as our
To a
review on the
27th.
27th. Okay.
So I'll move that we do the interviews on the 27th.
Second.
Any discussion of that? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Our next item is to set salaries and benefits for 2025 and authorize the longevity payments.
I think everything seems to be in order, but I'd like to bump the harbor masters pay by 4% and the assistant harbor masters by 4%, which is 600. And the other one is $80. Measure it with what all the other employees in town.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
I'll second it.
Motion is made and seconded to increase the salaries of the harbor master and his assistant by 4% each. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
That covers all the salaries and benefits.
Uh,
We're not
It'll
voting
get
on
it.
just harbor masters, it's everybody with the amended amount for the
Yeah.
harbor masters.
Right.
So we approved all the salaries and benefits.
To clarify, then the motion was to approve the post or the provided
Right.
update with the addition of a 4% increase for the harbor master and assistant.
Correct.
And just to be clear, all in favor of that motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. Thank you. Next is the announcement from the police chief of the successful completion of a one-year probationary period for junior probationary patrolman Devin Itzkowitz. And as of May 26th, he has now by contract been promoted to the rank of junior patrolman. Congratulations to Devin and his continued service to the town.
Here, here.
Next is a request to clarify for the public that a document sent to the council or a board commission becomes a public document once it is accepted. I believe that is.
Yeah, I just want to remind people that if you send something to the rest of the council, it's a public document. I don't understand the language accepted. Maybe you can, solicitor, could you clarify that for me? If someone sends a correspondence to the full town council, is that automatically a public document?
It's got to go to the town clerk.
Okay,
Under section 38-2-2, that's generally correct. However, there are some instances under this statute where there are exceptions to that. For instance, if a communication was given to the council in regard to the acquisition of open space, that would be a document that would not be made public in the first instance. If there was a result of an investigation, that would not be made public. If it was a matter of personnel that was coming to the council, that would not be public. But generally, when a citizen sends something into the council that is received by the clerk, as soon as it's accepted by the clerk, then it's a public document.
all right, just wanted to clear that up. Thanks.
So a group email, which is a common method by which that happens, comes and it goes actually to the five of us, the administrator and the clerk.
That's a public document.
That becomes a public document.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. The next is a request from the community center to use 32 Commons as a secondary location during the week of July 15th to the 19th for summer camp, if the space is available.
I'll move that.
Second.
Make a notation that I've already informed them that the Friday, the 19th is already reserved by someone else, so that day is not available for them.
Noted.
Therefore, the motion is that the community center be given that secondary location for the 15th through the 8th. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion? Signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you. Next is sitting as the Board of License Commissioners, a request from the LC 350 Committee for a Class F one-day beverage license for each of 3 events, which will be held in the community center, and for permission for road closure during said events. Those events are on Wednesday, July 3rd, July 17th, and July 30th.
Those state and local requirements met.
The motion has been made and seconded to approve such a license and such road closure, subject to all state and local requirements being met. Is there any further discussion?
Our insurance broker wants us to have proof of proper insurance from the town in regards to these events. And so I think the committee's been in touch with someone on the town councilors. I don't know who. So we need that in order to go through with the events. So can I send you, Carol?
For all events that people use your community center?
No, because these are different events, with the road closure and the alcohol, we don't typically have renters providing alcohol. We reached out to our insurance broker to make sure we were covering our behinds.
Right, well, how about the times like the Sakana Preservation Association?
They don't do alcohol.
Yeah, they do.
No, they do not.
They've asked permission for it.
We haven't done that. We did mocktails for them last year.
Huh.
May I ask a question? The community center, isn't that town property?
It is.
It is. Okay, you're dealing with the interlocal trust?
Say that again?
The town's insurer is the Rhode Island Interlocal Risk Management Trust. Is that who you're dealing with?
No, we, as renters, we have our own insurance policies. I don't know who the town is.
Okay. So this is what we're gonna need to do. Somebody's gonna have to contact the trust to tell them that this event is taking place.
These three events.
Yeah, the trust is gonna say, okay. The interlocal trust has a program where when town property is used for events of this nature, you can get temporary insurance. It's not expensive at all. It happens all the time. So I don't know who you're gonna deal with over there, Tony. Okay, just tell them that that's what you need. So
Broker said was an event policy for those specific days. I don't know if that's what you're.
that's correct. The town's gonna have to be listed as an additional insured or at least a lost payee. And you as the renter, your insurance company is gonna have to be on there as the additional insured and lost payee too. This is something that happens all the time. The trust is used to this. Tony can handle it.
This is technically a town event sponsored by the town because the 350 committee.
The LC 350 committee is the committee for the 350th anniversary of the town. So it's a town committee.
Understood. Find out if the trust will cover that. It might not. You might, it's a nominal thing. It really is. But the trust might pick it up. We'll figure it out one way or another.
Thank you.
I don't have a.
So the beverage license and road closure are approved by the previous motion.
I don't know if I heard an all in favor, so if you don't mind saying that again.
I'll be happy to say.
Should it be
Go ahead.
should it be contingent upon the
Yes, it is.
local trust?
She's got that part.
Okay, okay.
And now this came during the discussion. Okay, so indeed, we are ready for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
A unanimous vote, and the instruction is to the administrator to contact Brad Weaver and whoever else we need to at the trust. Communications, the request from the Secana Garden Club for the town to remove the hanging bulletin board situated near the playground. I
don't think it's ours.
I talked
Schools, isn't it?
No, I don't
playground.
I don't know who it is, whose it is, but
My recollection was playground was put in years ago.
Yep.
That they did that and was donated.
Yep.
I did ask Marjorie O'Toole, she was indifferent on it.
Yeah.
Except she was wondering why, that's all.
Oh.
Is there a reason why?
No, I don't know the reason why, but I use that bulletin board when a public meeting is taking place inside the Brownell House. I was instructed to use that bulletin board. And I have to say that bulletin boards in the town of Little Compton feel very quickly. So.
That is a very interesting input because that is the first person who said that bulletin board is useful. And furthermore, the Brownell House asserted that since it's there and is suspended from a pin, it may be worthwhile getting it out of there. They wish to retain all the rest of the enclosure and the fencing around it. They just wanted us to remove that piece that's, all right. I think the word has gone out to maintenance to get that down. Maybe they did that instead of coming over to help.
I checked with the school,
Oh, wait a minute. There he is. He'll know.
but no, I ran by the superintendent.
Yes,
Sure.
the superintendent.
Quite clear.
Oh.
To, it's, I'm hearing right now.
All right.
It wasn't very clear, so I did contact the school just in case he had some oversight of it. They were just, please get rid of it.
Okay.
They were in concurrence that, with the garden club, and it's a possibility they may have, I don't know, she may let us know.
All right. If I might just. Yes, sir, Mr. Pumperelli, could you shed any light on this as to the desire to have it removed?
Know anything, but I will say that there has been a desire on behalf of the Little Compton Village Improvement Society to erect a permanent bulletin board in that area, for posting notices, so when that would actually go, the need for a bulletin board, I'm not aware of that bulletin board. Is that in Angela's garden, or is that where that is?
Yes, in the circular cylindrical space, it's suspended in the middle of it, right?
I must have driven by 100,000 times, but I have no idea.
Okay. We're going to defer action on this item so as not to take down a perfectly functioning bulletin board while I clarify how this made it to the agenda, because obviously I approved it, so the fault is mine. Let's see if I have it here. This is signed by Kate Kelly. Since 2015, our club, that is the Sagana Garden Club, maintained a small garden. We've recently been awarded a grant to refurbish it. In this age of digital communication, the bulletin board is not getting much use anymore and actually detracts somewhat from the aesthetic appeal of the site. It also may pose a hazard. The structure it hangs from, on the other hand, enhances the symmetry of the little garden, mirrored as it is by the kiosk at the opposite end that abuts the Brownell house. Hence, it's really miles away from the Brownell house, and apparently that's why you haven't seen it. We thank you for any consideration and look forward to the council's earliest reply. I will reply to Kate Kelly with an answer that says we are taking this matter under advisement and let you know.
Is that a motion, sir?
Yes, it is.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thanks for the enlightenment. You prepare for these things, you pick out the things that you think are gonna be. And then you choose the ones that you think you'll spend time on. I'm fairly good at it, but I missed this one. All right. Next, a notice received from the Tiverton Town Council of proposed zoning amendment to a zoning district map and zoning ordinance text. Hearing is on June 24th, 7 p.m. Tiverton High School.
I'll make a motion to file this, but I want to ask the solicitor a question. If I get a second.
Is there a second to the motion to place on file?
Second.
Motion is seconded.
Did you read this over at all?
We did, yeah,
It's pretty legalese, isn't it?
it is. They're required to send notices to neighboring communities.
Can you explain C for me? I don't want to label this.
We see.
On the front page, notwithstanding the above, the measure of a lot shall not be required when the substandard lot of record has an equal.
Middle of the page.
So
But that's.
I understand that, Carol, but the thing is, there's been people in this town that have been pushing to combine our substandard lots of record, of which I have 8. And I've been getting pressured to combine them, and I don't want to.
This track.
And there's other people in the neighborhood that are the same way as me that don't want to combine their lots. But if you remember, a couple of years ago, it came to the council
I know.
that we wanted our lots combined.
This language tracks the state statute.
Okay,
And now, this isn't something I ever discussed with you all because you don't have a merger provision.
right.
However, in there's many communities do.
Hmm.
And this language, I'm not gonna tell you how it actually got in there, but it got in. Basically says if you have a substandard lot,
Right.
and it's the same size as 50% of the lots in the area, the town can't merge it. That's what this means. And this isn't, Tiverton is basically doing is incorporating what the state statute is telling them to do. This isn't something that Little Compton has to worry about because you don't have a merger provision.
Okay, thank you.
Motion's made and seconded, sir.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I tell Andrew where that came from?
The next item of business is a notice received from the Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management Office of Water Resources. It's an application by James O'Connor on John Dyer Road requesting permission to alter freshwater wetlands.
Motion to approve. Place on file.
Second.
The motion is made and seconded to place on file. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion? Aye. Just so you know, we're doing work on John Dyer Road, including
That's why you were given notice.
water work. Fine. The last of the communications is the Rhode Island Long Range Transportation Plan, a 2050 limited update received from statewide planning, including a list of workshops offered for the public.
Motion to place on file.
Discussion. All in favor of the motion to place on file?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
And place consent calendar on file unless anybody wants to question it.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Payment of bill.
Motion to pay the bills.
Second.
All in favor of paying the bills as posted? By saying aye.
Aye.
There being no further business before the council, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much, ladies.